think it's still thinking. All right. Oh, it says published. So one more refresh. We've got 3 people in the chat, so I guess it's working. Yep, we are live. We are live. Let us see who all's in the chizat. You guys, welcome. I see 3 people, I think. Yeah, 3 people are watching. Welcome to the channel again. RJ, what up, brother? So a lot is, words are hard. The purpose of this live, I know it's kind of randomly. What's up, man? Yeah, it's kind of a random live. I normally like to advertise when we do them, but because of scheduling and craziness and everything else, we just figured let's just make a live and knock out as many birds with one stone as we possibly can. So for those of you who aren't quite in here yet, feel free to listen to the beginning of this in the playback because it will be uploaded to YouTube automatically. We're doing a bunch of stuff, as I said. We're going to be talking about Pensacon. That was just past weekend. It was the 10-year anniversary of Pensacon. I've been going since year 1. It was Lex's first con ever, so her con cherry was popped this weekend, and it was pretty crazy, right?
Yes, it was. It was awesome, though.
Yeah, definitely. It was very, very congested, but we'll get to that. Then we're also going to discuss, obviously, you guys get to meet her for the first time because she's going to be my co-host going forward. We have already launched a second channel, which will be our primary channel where we upload. I still plan on keeping this one around, obviously, because I have a good following there, and we're going to have videos that make more sense, I guess, to be uploaded on this channel at times, but the other one will get most of our efforts and attention for the foreseeable future. And then we also want to discuss the movie Scream, the original by Wes Craven. It obviously is if you know me at all, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite franchises of all time, and Lex has not seen any of them except for the first one, which we've seen maybe 3 times in preparation for this video. Rob Cameron, what up? Oh, snap, pun intended. Dude, I like what you did there. Yeah, man. Cool to meet Lex. He says cool to meet you. But yeah, so where to start? Well, we'll go in order of what is, I guess, the least amount to talk about to the most amount, I guess. So right off the bat, introduce Lex to you guys. And as I said, those of you that aren't in the chat yet, you feel free to watch this and play back and all that stuff. So Lex and I go way back. I'd say at least 2 years of knowing each other, have seen each other in passing, probably longer than that. When I had my hiatus and funk and bad and trauma and everything else from the past live, if you haven't tuned into that, definitely it's an update on my life and why I was away for so long. She was definitely guardian angel, godsend, kept me here, and all the whole 9 yards. Of course, that friendship eventually blossomed into something a little further, and her and I have been dating for a little over a year now.
Almost a year.
Almost a year now, yes. Yeah,
well, is it March yet?
It's not March yet.
Okay,
so
March will be a year.
yeah. In March for sure will be a year. And she's always expressed interest in doing some sort of content creation, just never had the I guess the platform to do it on or whatever. And I expressed interest in starting a new channel, fresh start, and she was on board. So what we plan on doing is reviewing a bunch of movies that she hasn't seen, also a bunch of video games, a bunch of music, food. We're judging everything. And that's the name of the new channel. We judge everything. I'm going to put a link in the description. I should just put a link in the chat right now. But basically it's going to be a channel where we review anything and everything, as I said, from movies to music, to food. I think this is how you do that, on here. Maybe that worked. See if that link works for you guys. But yeah, so right now there's obviously no videos on there yet. This is the very first time her and I have made any content together. I wanted to make a live I think it was 3 weeks ago that I made a live returning to YouTube, and I expressed interest in making more videos, and I said that I would eventually introduce her to you guys before we just throw a video out there. So we kind of came up with the idea of just doing it in a live and talking about Pensacon, and then just knocking out the first project that we decided to do together, which was watch the original Scream. So is there anything you want to say? Because I feel like I'm talking a lot.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Cool. Okay. Well, let me know, guys, if the link doesn't work, and if you guys are interested in the new channel. Let's see. What does it say here? Nope. Put a / instead of an. How about I do both? Because I have a feeling it's both. Let me actually. Let's see. Which one? Oh, yes, it was both. So I'm going to do this. / at. See if that works. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about Pensacon first because it's, like I said, in order of what there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we could talk about Pensacon the whole video, but it was really, really, really interesting how they did it. We lost you guys know that I work at a game store and we go every year. We lost about 10 feet of floor space, and it was because they overbooked or didn't realize when the next hockey game was going to be played or something like that. So they weren't able to thaw out the entire rink, the entire arena. So we had to kind of make do with that. They laid a bunch of carpet down, and some people complained that the floor was too cold. Other people said it was really slippery, and if the mat that they put down bunched up and all that other stuff. But for us, thankfully, it wasn't. Thank you so much, Rob Cameron. I appreciate that sub, man. But yeah, so a bunch of people had different complaints as far as the scheduling issue goes. For me, it was the fact that we lost to 10 feet. And my boss definitely is like me with number crunching, and she is very, very meticulous with how she sets up the booth and the floor plan for each year. And since we just lost 10 feet out of nowhere, it kind of fell apart. And we had a very strict schedule to keep. So we thought we were making excellent time. We got there really early. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh man, we have an hour left to set up, and we don't physically have enough space to get everything we brought in its proper location for people to shop and the whole. So it was kind of a nightmare. And then of course, when the con itself started, people were complaining about having to wait in line and stuff like that because it was just so small. It was like a blood vessel that wasn't big enough to pump all the blood through. But basically the con was a success. I tried to test going live earlier, so I probably have said this somewhere on the internet already that didn't get published or did or something, but it was the first con that I went to that I felt overwhelmed since the first one. I've been to many cons, mainly Pensacon, but it's been 10 years of that. I've been to MegaCon a couple times, or one time, and a couple other smaller cons. And as the time goes by, as I go to more cons, I get less and less starstruck. And this year, it was like I never went to a con before, and I thought that was really refreshing. And Lex got to see my expression with some of the people that we met. As you can see in the front there, there's a delay, so I'm seeing. Hopefully, I'm pointing in the right spot. There's the 3-movie collection of Scream that I have on Blu-ray, and I was lucky enough to get Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich to sign it and personalize it to us, and actually write 2 of my favorite quotes from the movie. For those of you that can't see, let me see if I can zoom in here. It says, let's see. Oh, that's not zooming in. So right around the top, Matthew Lillard signed it, and he wrote, "Everyone dies but us." And on the very bottom, Skeet Ulrich signed it and said, "We all go a little mad sometimes." So for those of you that are Scream fans, yeah, that's a pretty iconic scene in the movies. So at the very end and stuff. So anyway, I digress with that for the moment. Let's see what we got here. So sad I didn't get to go to Pensacon because of funds. Dude, that sucks, man. A lot of people actually had the same issue this year because of just the way the year went. It feels like the year flew by, and a bunch of people had a bunch of stuff they had to pay off. And you're not the first one I heard that from. We kind of went very, very, very frugal with it, I think, compared to how I normally go with the cons. But yeah, it was definitely one of those that a lot of people who normally went in our friend group, because RJ and I are actually friends outside of YouTube, and a lot of them weren't able to go because funds were just really tight. And it's kind of a bummer, man. But like I said, a lot of the stuff, because of the scheduling, wasn't as impactful as it normally was. Thankfully, the celebrities and the kind of people that went kind of made up for that. Wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I know you don't really have a frame of reference because it's your first con and all, but
yeah, no, I definitely think that regardless of, everything being very crowded and a little overwhelming, which I'm kind of biased, but I mean, I feel like a lot of the people that were there definitely made it worth it for most of the people that went, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the staff members kind of anticipated how crazy it would get. Some of them were kind of left in the dark. There was a couple of hiccups throughout the con where I thought they could have handled it better. But for the most part, with what we all had to work with collectively, it was really smooth. And I think that if it was your first con, you probably like it was your first con. I think you would go back, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So there you go. An unbiased opinion of someone who had no frame of reference is willing to go back, even though we had all those hiccups. But so apart from meeting the two original killers from Scream, we weren't able to meet Rose McGowan or Jamie Kennedy, unfortunately, because there was just too much to do. In addition to that, I was actually working the convention, so I had to kind of pick and choose which avenue I was going to take, as far as like taking a break from the booth and walking among the sea of people all the way to a celebrity that was theoretically only 100 feet away, but it took an hour to get there. It's because there were so many people and so much traffic and everything else. And, of course, I work for great people. I work for nerds. So they all meet people as well, and they know how crazy it could be. And shout out to Dave and Val, because it was pretty crazy out there, man. Like we did not have all hands on deck the whole weekend. We tried to keep the store open and then also worked the convention and only closed it on Saturday. So on Friday and Sunday, we got hit really hard, and I'm still recovering from that. I didn't do anything today, and I didn't do anything yesterday, just recovering from the con, and it kicked my ass, man. Like, it was insane. Jay Wolfie, did you see Jeremy's panel? I did not. Yeah, that's basically what I was getting at. I saw photos of what he posted on Instagram, but I wasn't able to go see his panel in person. I just didn't have a chance to get away from the main building. I went outside, and that's about it. Like, I got footage of Aiden, oh my God, I can't remember Aiden Fisher, the stunt double for Eddie in Stranger Things season 4. He did a Master of Puppets like cover, and then he added his own little flair towards the end. He was doing it all weekend, and you and I thought we missed it.
Yeah, we thought that he was only doing it that one day, and we just so happened to get word that, he's doing it again today, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, so we heard it was 3 p.m., and I told Dave, I was like, hey, man, I got to step away from the booth at 3 o'clock. And he was like, of course, he was like, yeah, sure. So we went out there. I got some pretty sweet footage. I was using a DJI, what is it? It was one of those handheld gimbal stabilizer things. And I guess it may have picked up someone else's signal, or I didn't connect it correctly. And it kind of went all haywire for like 3 seconds. So there's a little blip in the video where it's like amateur hour, but I was able to get a lot of close-up shots. He actually went right into my camera for a while, and I can't wait to try and edit that video as best as I can, because I do want to put up a video. What's going on, David? I do want to put up a video of us just discussing the con in depth, and what it meant to us, and showcasing some of the stuff we got signed and stuff like that. But we had a lot of fun. So definitely, if you are ever in the Pensacola area, right around the end of February, early March is when they typically do it. Definitely make a point to come to Pensacon. Don't wait for the last minute, because Pensacon is slowly becoming Dragon Con, in my opinion. I've never been to Dragon Con, but I hear from people that have been to both that as far as its potential of growing, the only thing stopping Pensacon from getting bigger or as big as Dragon Con is that it's outgrowing the Civic Center. So if they ever get to figuring that out and zoning another area and getting the thing bigger, it's probably going to be as big, if not bigger, than Dragon Con, because it takes a lot to get it going, but they actually have it down to a pretty good science overall. Of course, everything's up for debate, so don't kill me in the comments. But anyway, so we're kind of, like I said, we're doing this on the fly. So I guess we can just start talking about Scream, because we have a lot to say about that movie, I think. You have to go to the bathroom? Okay, cool. So she's going to go to the bathroom real quick, and then I'll go ahead and start talking about...
I'm a very small person, so...
She's a very... Yeah,
she
is.
Can't hold a lot of liquid at one time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. So yeah, I guess I'll start talking about Scream, and when she gets back, she'll give you her 2 cents on it. But as you guys know, I am a huge horror movie fanatic. I love horror movies. I think horror movies are one of the best things to ever come out of Hollywood. And I think that more and more people are realizing that horror movies it's a spectrum of what it can do for you as far as entertainment goes. Some people like to get scared. Some people like the suspense element. Some people like to see, as bad as it sounds, bad things happening to people other than them. And that's why they go see horror movies, because they're in the safety of their own home or in a theater. I like to see horror movies from a filmmaker's perspective and from a storytelling perspective, because the best horror movies are the ones that incorporate the audience in the events or in the consequences. The camera went crazy there for a second. I apologize. But anyway, so yeah, I really, really enjoy how they do horror movies nowadays with the integrating like technology, and Scream is a perfect franchise for that because it started off as just a 90s movie. What's going on, Kyle? It started off as just a 90s slasher film. And if you guys think about it, it had so much going against it. It was just another fish in a big, big pond. It had to swim in the same pond with the likeness of Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and, that kind of thing. So they kind of, even though Wes Craven was no stranger to horror movies because he did create a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, he still wanted to kind of make his own take on it without it being just, another 80s slasher cliche movie. Even though there is there are a lot of things about Scream that, are predictable and are cliche by today's standard. In my personal opinion, I think Scream was as much of an innovator in horror movies as Halloween was before it. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But I really, really enjoy it. I love the Ghostface aesthetic. I'm a big Grim Reaper fan. And for me, he's the Grim Reaper of horror movies. So it kind of it's just perfect for me. Now, as far as Lex goes, which she should be here momentarily. There she is right now. They did a really, really good job creating the first movie with the whole simple is more mentality. In my opinion, I think that's what they were going for, and that's what they succeeded with because the movie just kind of started out of nowhere. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I love it. I love the simplicity, but there's also just a lot of complex things also within the simplicity of the movie, which I don't know, they just did it so well.
Yeah, like we actually have a bit of a criteria that we're going to go for with slasher movies, and you guys are going to get a preview here. I'll just give you a rundown of what we have written down. So we're basically going to judge, like I said, in the new channel, we judge everything. We're going to judge it as objectively as possible, and if we ever give a subjective comment or critique, you guys will know ahead of time that that's what we're doing. But we're basically going to judge every single movie that we watch, whether it's a slasher movie or a movie about comedy or action movie. We're going to judge them the same. Now, this specifically what I'm about to say refers only to slasher movies, obviously, and you'll see what I mean. But we're going to basically cover the intro, basically the title card, as my favorite YouTuber says over on Dead Meat. The title card of the movie, the first appearance of the killer, the first kill, the quote-unquote dopest kill, the quote-unquote lame-ass kill, the overall plot, the best supporting character, the worst supporting character, theme music, if any, killer's weapons, if any, killer's appearance, how scary the movie actually was, the best thing about the movie overall, the worst thing about the movie overall, and what we rate the movie 1 out of 10. Now, of course, that is going to be the formula, so to speak, going forward with horror movies. And we just thought it was the most fun. Kelly Rojas, what's up? I love me some Snap. Dude, I love you too, bro. Appreciate it. But yeah, so that's basically going to be what we do. David Jung says, I don't like jump scares, so it's hard for me to sit and watch horror movies. Well, the cool thing about certain horror movies like Scream, yes, there are certain jump scares, but especially with the first movie, because I can't spoil the second, third, fourth, and fifth, and now sixth in a week. Oh my God. Yeah, because you've only seen the first one. So I don't want to spoil anything, but these movies are definitely probably the last, I would think, unless there's something I'm forgetting, probably the last franchise that stayed away from jump scares a whole lot. They actually make fun of jump scares in the Scream movies. There's scenes where Sydney's like walking down the hallway and she opens up the door, and this actually goes throughout the franchise, where you kind of hear that violin like in the background, and then she closes the door and there's nothing there. So it's very, very self-aware. Kyle, horror movies, let's go, dude, for real. So even though this movie is being uploaded on Snapkeep, as I said before, the We Judge Everything channel, we're going to be a little loose with the lingo. There's going to be probably cuss words here and there. So you guys, those of you who have been waiting for more adult content or adult friendly content as far as like themes and talking about horror movies and gore and stuff like that, that's what you're going to get over at that channel. We're going to judge everything unbiased. When we eat food, if it tastes like shit, we're going to say it tastes like shit. So Rob Cameron, I love it, man. But I'm not going to remember all of the criteria. Can you post this somewhere or reminder? Yes, absolutely. Every single video, with the exception of this one, because it's a live, we're going to post, all right, guys, we're taking it to the top, at the very bottom, I'm going to add a graphic that's like intro, and we're going to break it down.
Yeah. And And when we start talking about different parts of the criteria, we're obviously like, before we talk about it, gonna, you know, state what part we're talking about. Like when we start talking about the first kill, we're gonna say, okay, now for the first kill, these are our opinions, you know, whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. Don't mind me. I'm just subbing right now, and Kyle says he's sub. Dude, I really appreciate it, man. But yeah, so like I said, these movies are near and dear to my heart, and I was lucky enough that while Lex and I were hanging out, she was like, "Hey, you know, I'd definitely be down to make these videos with you. How are we gonna do it?" Then we kind of scratched our head a little bit, and I was like, "Well, how about we do it this way?" And she was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And I was like, "Well, hopefully the internet enjoys, you know, another series of videos breaking down movies that have existed for over, you know, a decade and a half, going on 2 decades." Those of you that know Jeremy Branch, he's definitely, he and I, our friendship is built on movies and how cynical he and I can both be when it comes to reviewing them. So maybe I can even make, you know, reach out to him and make a video using, you know, the internet as far as Discord and stuff like that to kind of review something together. But I'm really, really excited because I've tried to stick with, you know, not that there's anything wrong with this, but the family friendly aspect of, you know, with the Snapcube Videos channel to kind of keep things, you know, cordial with YouTube standards and stuff. But I'm basically going to be relying on Patreon to fund the channel, and that way we can go a little bit more raw with what we talk about and the topics that we talk about. Obviously, we're not going to talk about, you know, babies getting slaughtered or people getting raped or anything like that, but we're definitely going to talk about, you know, killer slasher movies and monster movies and movies like The Green Inferno and movies like Hostel, stuff that most people are like, okay, that's gore porn, I don't want to talk about it. It still exists, and it's still a media that there's good and there's bad in everything. And if we can cover as much as we can, especially if you guys request, you know, a movie like that isn't really something that people like Hereditary traumatized me. I know that it traumatized the old crew that we made. If you guys don't know about that, there's a video on this channel of us watching Hereditary years ago, and it's the most popular video on my channel. It's like almost 80,000 views, and it's of just us watching the movie. I had to technically watch it twice in a week because I had to edit the whole thing, and it was rough. And I love horror movies, and that movie messed me up for some reason. So I just want a more raw take on that, and you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm
Another
excited.
thing with this channel and everything, it gives us a chance to be more ourselves and talk about the things that we really like without having to censor ourselves. And I think that's a really awesome element of this new channel.
Yes, I think so too. I think the fact that we have options, you know, options to for funding the channel, as far as, you know, because I didn't know much when I first started doing the YouTube channel, the YouTube thing. I didn't know that, you know, there were ways to help fund the production value, and, like, you know, if a microphone breaks, you know, so that we can still have our day job and not be netting, you know, zero, or having our hobby be another expense. I'm not trying to like quit my job and make money on YouTube, but I definitely would like to be in a position where if we go and travel to go experience something to make a video for you guys, some of that expense gets kind of, you know, eliminated as best as possible. So when I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was like, you know, you guys definitely have the interest, because I have put feelers out in the past about content and like what video games to play and what movies to discuss and stuff. And I was like, well, it's kind of a family friendly thing. I don't know if I want to venture into that. Let's talk about D&D instead. Now, that doesn't mean that D&D is only family friendly D&D, but or for families only, but it meant that it kind of put me in a realm where I had to pick and choose what I was going to talk about. And now that I've decided to go the Patreon route and go, you know, other routes of, like, you know, having to fund the channel and stuff like that, I don't have to worry about the guidelines of, you know, all the you know, the cussing and all this and that, and as far as like the copyright goes, like, I don't have to worry about that. As far as I'm concerned, there are certain things I still have to watch out for copyright, but it's not as strict, is what I'm trying to get at. Kelly Rojas, see, the last scary movie I watched was Ghost Ship. Oh my god, that movie was really good. So I'm definitely looking forward to more reviews on We Judge Everything. Thank you so much. It humbles me to see the WJE in the chat, because, like I said, we kind of just threw it together. Like, I asked her, I was like, what are we gonna call this thing? And we were like, I don't know. Then I was like, let's incorporate the Reaper in there somehow, and it just kind of fell into place. The Patreon, we already set it up. Those of you who are coming from the old channel that wanted to play games with me, as far as like D&D goes or video games go, I'm very pleased to announce that I have a way of making that work now. If you guys wanted me to DM a game for you, as far as like tabletop goes, we were going to do it strictly over Discord, and it's a feasible way. I've tried to do it already, and it's, even though I'm still learning the Discord interface as far as that goes, it worked, and it's something that I can do, as opposed to in the past where I kind of had to figure out ways to kind of get the people who were interested in that to work and play a game, and it wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be. I was able to fine tune everything I wanted to execute with the Snapkeep Videos platform, and now hopefully in this new channel it'll be a little bit more. The production value will go up, and it's seeming more professional and well polished. So will there be a new Patreon? Yes, Kyle. There's a new Patreon. Let me see if I can get that link on here. Yeah, so there's definitely a new Patreon. I have already got it in the works, or already, I think it's already published, honestly. I'm working on doing I think I did a Facebook already, and I'm trying to see if I can do an Instagram, which I believe I did, but I'm not sure, on the new channel. And I'm definitely going to be using it a lot. That's probably where both of us will be posting stuff like sneak peeks on what's coming up next for the channel. Like, you guys will get sneak peek videos or sneak peek photographs of like us traveling somewhere and giving you a sneak peek of what we're going to review. If you make it to the end of the live, there are certain things certain videos we're going to be giving you a preview about that I'm trying to talk, words are hard. That we're going to do going on in the future for the We Judge Everything channel. We have two videos already planned on shooting them as soon as possible. We just have to get the product that we're going to be trying. And then we'll be taking any and every request that you guys can come up with. And if it's realistic, if it's possible, we're going to be more than happy to do it. And it'll be 100%, as everything else I do, candid, upfront, transparent. You guys are going to see it for the first time. If I wasn't able to film something and I had to repost it, you guys will see that, hey guys, this is the second attempt because XYZ happened. But we're going to definitely be as transparent as humanly possible. Let's see here. So my favorite horror experience was actually a book. I read Pet Sematary 4 times and always get scared. It's my favorite Stephen King book. It's my favorite Stephen King book. I think of all of his books, that one is the only one that makes me check both, look left and right before I leave my bedroom to go anywhere. So I'm very, very happy to hear that someone else gets touched by that book after reading it 4 times. So yeah, I concur 100%, Rob. Kyle says, oh, you should do some haunted houses. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I actually introduced him to haunted houses and haunted trails and stuff like that. We actually haven't been to a haunted house together. I've only introduced him to trails so far, but that'll be a cool thing that he hasn't done that I'm able to take the lead on, because a lot of this stuff is going to be stuff that I haven't seen or experienced or whatever. A lot of it's going to be stuff we both haven't experienced, but the haunted houses thing, absolutely. I am very, very excited for that, for sure. Yeah,
this past Halloween, we went to my first haunted trail. It was okay. It wasn't as intense as the ones where you have to sign waivers and all that jazz, but it was pretty cool. I had a great time. I was kind of worried that I was going to hit someone, that jumped in front of me, but as long as from what you told me, as long as it's not, as long as you don't sign a waiver in the beginning, they don't go very close to you.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that they're not allowed to really touch you or anything unless it's one of those ones that you sign a waiver for.
Yeah.
So
definitely haunted houses, Pensacola and Florida in general, there's a lot from St. Augustine, one of the oldest places in the country, to Pensacola, the oldest city in the country, if memory serves. There's the lighthouse that most of you guys probably heard of with ghost adventures and stuff like that. There's a couple of mansions out here that are pretty haunted. I know that the, what is it called? Fort Pickens is haunted. There's a bunch of different places that I have had. There's documentation of people seeing or hearing things there. So we definitely are going to do that for sure. Let's see. We got some questions on here. Kelly Rojas says, do you run any games at the shop? And as soon as I start my new job, I'm going to 100% support with Patreon. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yes. So currently at my job, we have what's called a quick quest. Now, we started that shortly after the world got back to normal from COVID and all that crap. But basically, my boss, the owner, Dave, and he has his own YouTube channel for the store called Game Masters Guild. Definitely feel free to check that out as well. But he and I are the DMs, in addition to 2 other friends, but they're not available to do it just now. And we have different packages that you can pay for, I guess, essentially, because they do pull me off the clock for this. So we have these dungeons, for those of you that are local, we have these dungeons that we renovated during COVID, and each one has its own theme. One of them is actually themed after this room here, which is our garage. But we have one themed on modern horror. We have one that feels like you're in King Tut's tomb. It's like an Egyptian feel. And then we have one that seems like, or that feels like a 1920s speakeasy, which is one of my favorite rooms. It's super chill. The vibes are super dope. That one's actually used for mahjong right now. I think it's Chinese rummy domino hybrid game that you guys have probably heard of a bunch of times. Our grandparents play it. And not to say that that's only the people that play. Let me just point that out there. But yeah, we have these 4 dungeons, and you can either rent the rooms themselves for $25 a day on the weekdays or $35 a day on the weekends, and it comes with 3-dimensional terrain, minis, dice, anything you need. Now, if you want to rent a DM in addition to that, the DM, myself or Dave, we come with our own story, and we can run a game that you would request. As long as you give us enough time, we can put it together for you. If you want us to just come up with something we have pre-rolled up, then I have my D&D stuff in my car most of the time, so I could just play anywhere. But that's what we offer right now. Now, as far as me running a game that doesn't involve the store or money, that would require some, getting together and planning, and then seeing if it conflicts with my schedule and all that stuff, which I'd love to do. But yes, so hopefully that answers your question. Joyful Spirit, what's up? So good to see you. I hope you're doing well. And now we get to watch the gamers again, because you didn't see my reaction to the second or third one, and we have someone who hasn't seen any of them, being Lex here. So I hope you're excited for that. And if you decide to stick around and go to the new channel, that's definitely something that we're going to do. So hopefully that's something you're looking forward to. Rob Cameron is answering. Oh yeah, good call on the haunted house, dude, for sure. I don't mess with haunted trails. I had asthma attack on my first one, and I haven't went to another one since. Dude, I get it. I think as far as I can tell, every haunted trail is going to have a clown. One of the big slasher movie characters, probably Michael Myers, was the easiest to replicate. And some dude in the end is going to come at you with a chainsaw. That's pretty much what's guaranteed for sure.
Yeah, so you definitely got to know yourself. You got to know your body. You got to know your, self-control as far as like anger goes and stuff like that. Yeah. Reaction, however you react to being, jump scares and stuff like that. But yeah, you got to be careful with stuff like that. If you have asthma, stuff like that, probably not a good idea unless you've got an inhaler on you or something, because you're going to probably be running at least a couple times, because, if it's a good haunted trail, the whole point of it is to get you scared. So,
yeah,
definitely.
And also maybe try not going alone for your first time. Oh, absolutely, yeah. But go with a support system as far as your friends go, or your whoever you're comfortable with, a person that can snap you back into reality. There goes gravity. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Snap you back into that, sense of comfort. Like, hey, look at me. It's not real, because a lot of these places, the people don't break character, because that's the whole thing, you know? But yeah. Okay. So Joyful Spirit has a question. So the second one's the best. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you seeing me react to that, and Lex not knowing anything. I told her the premise of the first one, and her and I have actually talked about redoing one ourselves, because she's loves D&D. She played D&D a couple times with me already and had a great time. So she's all about it. So I think that's gonna be. I mean, I don't want to talk for you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very excited. I would love to do D&D a lot more than I have. It's definitely, like, even though I've only done it a couple times, it's definitely one of my favorite things to do, like hobby wise or whatever you want to call that. So yeah, I definitely am excited to do anything really. I can't think of any theme or topic that isn't interesting to me, because there's just so much flexibility when you're in the game, and it's just awesome to me. So yeah,
get to be something you're not. And
exactly, yes.
Flowing back into that same vein, Joyful Spirit asked if I'm looking forward to the D&D movie coming out. Absolutely. That movie,
I'm a little nervous about it, honestly. I have high hopes for it. My expectations are kind of high. So I'm really hoping they execute it well. I've been seeing people talk about it. A lot of people don't have high hopes. A lot of people are saying that they don't think it's going to do very well. But from the trailer that I saw, it honestly seems pretty cool to me. So I'm really hoping they can execute everything correctly.
I definitely get it. The reservation, because D&D track records for the movies haven't been the best. The first one was kind of hard to get through. As far as the first impact, the cast that they have for the new one, we have Chris Pine, who he's done everything from Star Trek to Wonder Woman. Michelle Rodriguez has been in so many different movie franchises, the Fast and the Furious franchises. She was in the really, really, really not so much talked about Blood Rain movie, which her performance I thought was okay as far as the action went. And then also the girl from I think it was the It movies that played Beverly. She's playing the druid, and I think she has a bright future ahead of her. I think I really, really, I think that the movie has everything going for it. Definitely has the budget. It definitely has the star, like I said, the star power and the source material. I just think the only problem it might have is if it centers too much on the new stuff and not so much the old stuff, like, you know, keeping all the older players, the 3.5 players and the second edition players away. But also on the same, there's that balance. You can't have too much second edition, third edition, fourth edition stuff and then not include the fifth edition stuff, which I don't think that's going to be an issue because fifth edition is what they're selling now. But I have high hopes as well, but I'm also optimistic. I don't really care for what Hasbro is doing right now with the property, as far as like Wizards of the Coast and like how they're having so much controversy with D&D, and now they're going back on their GML stuff and or not GML stuff, the open gaming license and stuff like that. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that they have to do to kind of rectify that, which I think they're doing. That's a talk for a different video for sure. But I definitely am optimistic with what's going on. You know, with the movie and stuff. The Black Dragon looks phenomenal. The fact that the owlbear it was a snowy owlbear, so they're kind of going all out with that. I play a barbarian primarily, so seeing that scene with Michelle Rodriguez just busting down that door and just slamming a dude by his like pelvic bone, it's insane. Like that big ups to that. The fact that she's, you know, a woman doing it like that. There's a lot of that I like. It speaks to me. You know, I'm a big fan of IPs like Blood Rain, you know, where like Kill Bill, you know, where the lead is a female lead, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm just kind of tired of like a big dude just showing up and just like, you know, it's been done already. So I think it's gonna be really well done is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, here we go. More questions I'm happy to answer. Did I watch the Deadpool teaser trailer yet? I have not. Maybe I can do that right now, or not right now, but during this live, and you and I can watch it together and kind of.
I don't even know what that is. I don't know what he's talking about.
Apparently, there's another Deadpool movie coming out. I did hear that
it's Ryan Reynolds, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I was gonna say I don't trust anybody to play Deadpool other than Ryan.
Yeah. I don't know if it's true, but they said something about Patrick Stewart and or Hugh Jackman, who played Wolverine and the Professor, coming back. Now,
I wouldn't doubt it, honestly.
Spoiler alert: Lex has a lot of references to movies and shows as far as like, you know, YouTube videos and TikToks and stuff like that, but she hasn't seen a whole lot of stuff in the pop culture realm. So we have infinite content.
I've been living under a rock for the most part for a lot of the time, but we're using that as an advantage.
Absolutely.
For content.
Absolutely.
Because I think other people will enjoy watching someone else's, you know, first, you know, genuine reactions to stuff like that. So, and I'm excited to see things and experience things for the first time.
You guys definitely throw out franchises at us, and that's one of the Patreon perks. I think it's the second tier is you guys get the voting power, because franchises from the Mummy movies, Fast and the Furious franchise, Back to the Future, Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars. All these franchises she's kind of green on. And the only thing she would know is like, Luke, I am your father. But who doesn't know that? Yeah. And she has no idea how that applies. She doesn't know who Darth Vader is as far as like the person underneath the mask. Just yesterday when I was at the 501st booth, which that's something I would love. I just want to put that out there. I'm doing words. I'm getting back to doing normal stuff, getting my life back together, and being around the brothers and sisters of the 501st Legion was humbling. It was so exciting for me to get back into that realm. And she saw one of the guys dressed as Vader and saw a bunch of the Mandos and the Jawas and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. I love the Jawas. I obviously, like we said, I haven't seen the movies or anything like that, but being there really made me want to join that community. I really, honestly, I do plan on doing that once I'm educated on everything and becoming part of that whole family. It's really awesome.
Yeah, because you were like, am I a poser? I was like, no, you just haven't seen it yet, you know?
Yeah.
But we're super stoked for the whole Star Wars thing. And we're talking Mandalorian, Kenobi, the whole 9 yards. We have content. We have more content than we have time to film it. And I know you guys will stick with us. And hopefully you enjoy the new flow of the channel and what we're trying to do. We're gonna break up stuff so it's not so monotonous. Like we're not gonna do just movies for like a 3 month stretch. We'll take a break and do food. Like I said, we're gonna try a bunch of different foods that we've never had before. Different experiences. Like I've never ever been disc golfing before. That's something that we have planned on there. So that's a little sneak preview there of what we're gonna do and things like that. I've been goofy golfing, so that's not gonna be something exciting. Now, if anything I've done before that Lex hasn't done, then we'll preface that and say, well, hey, I've done this before, she hasn't. But for the most part, that's where we're going. We want things to be fresh and fun and just so directly involved with you guys, the subscribers, because you're the guys that are watching these videos. So if you have something like, hey, I want you guys to go to a haunted house, or I want you guys to try pickled okra for the first time or something like that, and we've never done it, that's something that we want to do for you guys and give you the content that you want to watch and let us have the fun and the passion that I get from making the videos. But you guys decide what we do, and for the most part, because we're still going to do our own stuff, our own one-off videos. We have a lot of stuff planned for the Patreon exclusive videos, as far as like the ones that patrons get only, and then of course there's just so much stuff that we just have planned. This apart from the 501st is going to be the biggest a taker of my time that isn't employment. So hopefully you guys are excited for that, because I know I am, and I know Lex is chomping at the bits to get these videos going too. So it says, anything for Ryan? Yes, Ryan Reynolds, absolutely. Anything for Ryan. Someone said, Pastor, are you dieting or something? So a lot has gone down. And yeah, so a lot of, like I said, I don't mean to just redirect you to another video, but I did talk in depth about everything that happened on the video right before this one, which I think it was a live that uploaded 3 weeks ago or so. And I went into detail as to what all went down, with me over the last year, since last April. And I'm still recovering from that. I still have days where it's hard to get out of bed, but it's getting better, knock on wood. And hopefully it stays on the uptick. And yes, one of the side effects was I dropped about 120 pounds since last April. So that's a lot of weight to lose in a short amount of time. I do not recommend, but thank you so much for the compliment. Yes, I did lose quite a few pounds. Super stoked you're back, but you got to go. Okay, Kyle, sorry, you're probably gone by now, but thank you so much for stopping by. I'm trying to catch up on these. Can't wait to see more. Dude, I can't wait to make more. Hugh Jackman's officially back for Deadpool. It's confirmed. Oh, dude, sweet. See, now I'm really excited. Nice. As you guys know, Wolverine's one of my favorite, if not my favorite comic book character of all time. Lex, have you seen Squid Game? Sure weirded me out. A fun one for sure.
Nope, I have not seen it. I know it blew up for a while, but I haven't seen it. No, that is something that I was a little bit interested in for sure. Probably something I'll eventually watch. Yeah.
Hey guys, I haven't seen it either.
Ooh. So maybe that's something we can experience together for sure.
I have not seen that either. Another thing I haven't seen is the Cobra Kai franchise. I was supposed to watch that with CJ, but he unfortunately had to move away for work and stuff, so we never got to make those videos either. I don't think you've seen the Karate Kid movies.
I have the very first one, the original one. I've seen that one. Yes.
Cool. So
it's been a long time though, so I would need to watch it again. But I'm a little educated on that, just a little bit. But yeah.
So we'll definitely do all that stuff, man. We're super stoked. Like I said, any franchises like, thank you so much for suggesting Squid Game, because that wasn't even on my radar. So any franchises that you throw out there, we're definitely down to do. Let's see here. So looking forward to the new content. Joyful Spirit says, well, maybe not the horror. I get that. You'll have plenty. The thumbnail itself will be able to tell you, yes. Joyful Spirit. So don't worry about that. Just want to see you all have a good time and enjoy yourselves. Dude, us too. Is that the one and only Thomas Ramsey, bro? Okay, so Thomas Ramsey and I of course I know him by another name. He and I go way back. The whole Ulifield thing, that's one of my oldest and most near and dear nicknames. I've told some people about that nickname. My memory's terrible, so sometimes I forget. But that's an old nickname based off of the movie Cloverfield. And he and I he was my very first YouTube partner. Like, he and I would make videos all across New York City. Our lives kind of flip-flopped. He was born in Alabama and decided to move to New York, where everyone goes to kind of get into film and stuff. I was born in New York and moved a couple hours away from because I'm technically in Florida, but it's considered to be lower Alabama. So our lives kind of switched, and it's kind of interesting how that happens sometimes. But he and I have so many videos that we made. We've made stuff for MTV that we entered into contest and just hung out. He and I were the best. We used to skateboard together. It was one of the best times of my life. And to see you in the chat there is really, really nice, dude. I'm glad I don't know if you want me to call you on the internet by what I call you, but yeah, Thomas Ramsey, he's an old friend of mine. So guys, give him love on the chat for sure. Joyful Spirit, have I played Jedi Fallen Order? If I could cosplay, I would do the second sister. So a couple things. Yes, I have played Fallen Order, had a great time doing it. Those of you who like Dark Souls with a Star Wars flavor, that's basically what you're getting. I was actually lucky enough to meet the voice actress of the second sister. I believe it was the second sister at Collective Con and during the height of COVID. That was a very interesting experience because on the good side, I was able to talk to her for a long, long time with no line. But on the bad side, it was during COVID. So it was very, very, we couldn't take accurate photos. We had to wear masks and stuff like that. But yes, that cosplay is phenomenal for sure. Are you and CJ still cool? Oh, absolutely, Jay Wolfie. Absolutely. Besides Lex, that's my best friend. He and I talk at least once a week. He's in Virginia right now for work. That's why he moved. He and I, not being able to make content was one of the worst things about him having to move. But yeah, he and I are 100% tight. If not, we're closer now that he's gone. So far away and we can't see each other all the time, but we talk all the time. He just, during Pensacon, he sent me a text of a pair of Jordans he bought. And I was like, why would you buy a pair of Jordans for that amount of money? He was like, it's not just any Jordans. And of course he sends me a photo and it's the best Jordans arguably made of all time. So yeah, he and I are super, super tight still. See, Rob Cameron, I'm so down for Squid Game and Cobra Kai. I love them both. Dude, same. We're actually going to use your sister's Netflix because I've been out of Netflix for a while.
Yes.
Normally, I'm only on Netflix if Stranger Things is new, so I'm actually itching to watch it again. We have the Blu-ray, but we don't have season 3 or 4 because Target quit making them.
Yes, and by the way, Chrissy from Stranger Things is so sweet. I met her at Pensacon.
That's right.
And she also let me meet her dog. I met her dog, and her dog flipped out a little bit randomly, but yeah, she is so sweet. She was really awesome. I got a poster, well, not a poster, like a picture signed from her, and she wrote Chrissy wake up on it. If you guys have seen season 4, you know that's Eddie says that over and over.
Yeah.
And then of course, if any of you it blew up on TikTok kind of, and there was a lot of edits that they made out of the whole Chrissy wake up thing that I found pretty hilarious, and I think that's why she put that on there. But
similar to the Andy
just
thing.
Random. Yeah, Andy from The Office. Yeah, absolutely.
That song that they did when he was trying to get it on, on America's Got Talent or whatever it was. But yeah, so CJ and I are definitely cool. Squid Game, definitely, man. I'm trying to go down all this. Mark McKeever, dude, what's up, man? Yeah, so The Last Ronin, I have not finished it. I think I have one more to read. I got a little confused on where I was in that series, but I plan on buying the mini omnibus or whatever it is with all the collected issues and reading it from the beginning. But I will be giving you my opinions 100%. Probably even make a video on it because The Last Ronin, Ninja Turtles in general, is one of my favorite stories of all time. So stand by with me on that, and I definitely will be reviewing it 100% for you, bud. Johnny Rivera, what's going on, man? Good to see you too, buddy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I know it was kind of last minute. However you got notified, I'm glad you did. Let's see, Mark McKeever, you should check out The Sandman on Netflix. It's bleeping good. Yeah, dude. So Sandman is apparently making a comeback. I believe it was Neil Gaiman who started that, the guy who did American Gods. And I have an old Sandman comic that's like, I think it's like a couple $100 or something like that. I got it from my uncle who got me, basically, he's responsible. He's not with us anymore, but he's responsible for half of, if not 2/3 of the nerd that I am today. And I definitely am excited to see that. Netflix, like I was saying earlier, is a streaming service that I don't typically subscribe to all year round just because it's a little on the pricey side compared to the others. And so if Stranger Things is not on there, I usually don't have a live subscription. But Lex's sister,
ever since they got rid of The Office too, that was just something that I was like, I don't know. That was mostly the reason. That and Stranger Things was really the only reason why we had it.
The Office, Friends was on there for a long time. But yeah, now Peacock pretty much satisfies that Office itch for sure. Yes. So here we go. Oasis, dude, what's up, man? It's been forever. How are the Snappers? Hopefully they're doing good. I know we're doing great. Got a lot of love in the chat. You guys are saying hi to each other. I love to see it. Carl Weezer, you seen Scream 6 yet? Not yet. Now, we are going to talk about Scream. We haven't talked about it at all. We've been online for I don't know how many minutes yet, but we're going to talk about Scream, obviously still answer your questions and all that in between. But we're going to try and, I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, but we're going to try and power through Screams 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes, because I have only seen the first one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 2 through 6 yet, so we've got some work to do before we get to that one. But
yeah, if you guys like this style, like not so much the live per se, but if you guys want us to review them, we plan on reviewing them in the podcast studio. That way we can have our notes up and her and I can talk and discuss and dialogue back and forth. And maybe even be able to throw in some scenes here and there. But this is the formula that we're planning on doing as far as reviewing the movies go for the foreseeable future until we can maybe even get another different format or flow. If you guys have any suggestions, definitely drop us a line on that. But we're definitely excited to get. I know I am. There's so many times where we watched the first one to make this video, and I almost gave it away. I almost gave something away because I forgot that she hadn't seen them yet. But yes, we're gonna try and do that so that we can go see it in theater. We were gonna go see the fifth one in theaters, but thankfully we didn't because then you wouldn't get these videos. But so yeah, everything happens for a reason, I guess. So we're definitely gonna watch it as soon as possible, and I think we're gonna spend every day that we're not working, probably at least one of the 2 days, pumping out one of the Scream videos so that we can be caught up for March 10th or whenever it comes out. So Scream is a type of movie you and your friends watch when there's a white mask and a black Rob serial killer on the rules. Yeah, I can agree with that. I definitely enjoy Scream with my friends for sure. Did I watch Terrifier 2? Not yet. Now I know that there's a con coming into town. I don't know where, but Art the Clown will be there, and I want to hopefully see that. Yeah, before I meet him, if I get to go to that con. Will watching the Scream franchise lead into watching Scary Movie? Absolutely. So we've seen the first one together. I think you had seen it before though.
Yes.
But not the second or the rest of them.
No.
Now, arguably the second one, I think the first and second one are like untouchable for me. The first one being the best, obviously, and then the second one was very, very fun. They kind of taper off for me, but we're still going to get through them, and I'm curious to see what you think about them.
Yes, absolutely. I love the first one, dude. It's honestly genius. That first like the scene before the title card that they do is almost identical to the Scream one, but it's just comedic. And,
yes.
And it's I just love the way that they did that. It's awesome.
Yes, the beginning and the end of Scream of Scary Movie is basically how Scream ends, which is pretty tongue in cheek, which is pretty cool. Let's see here. Watch. Yes. So, hey, what's going on? Oh, so Thomas says, have you seen the Flash trailer yet? I have not. So that's something else. Trailers I'm kind of behind on. And movies, honestly, like you guys would be shocked. Those of you who follow the channel, I haven't seen Black Adam yet. I just recently watched Suicide Squad 2 or The Suicide Squad. I haven't seen Peacemaker yet, which I want to based off of how the Suicide Squad was. But seeing 71-year-old Michael Keaton as Batman, that is definitely something that I am curious about for sure. Because Michael Keaton arguably is up there. I did a Batman podcast with Dave, oh my God, long time ago, breaking down all the Batman actors. I think the only one we didn't cover was Robert Pattinson because it hadn't come out yet. But we did cover all the other ones, and we gave our opinions on what was good and bad and stuff on them. But Michael Keaton, if I remember correctly, he was up there for me. So I'm kind of curious to see what that's going to be like. And The Flash for sure is the only way that makes that work because of the whole time travel thing, I think. Now, I'm definitely down for a Michael Keaton reprising his role as Batman for like a Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond kind of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. But other than that, I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely excited to see it. Do I think Stu Macher is dead? Now, I can't really talk about that right now because I don't want to spoil it for Lex, but
are you talking about Scream?
I don't know. Don't overthink it for sure.
Okay.
So as far as she's concerned, the first movie is all she's seen. So I would love to cover that. Like if you message me on like my Instagram or something like that, I'll definitely talk to you about that. But her and I haven't gotten to those movies yet, and that's one of the things I'm super excited about because I'd like to ask her the same question before we go into like the later movies. But I would love, like I said, I will definitely answer that if you drop. Actually, if you wait, you might know. I'm not even gonna do it on here because she might go back and read the comments or something, and I just don't want to ruin it. But
I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Like, I don't mean to say no, I'm not gonna answer it, but like it's because she hasn't seen it yet. But I definitely we will get to that. I promise you. Robert Pattinson was seen going to a hotel in New York a week before the Penguin to start filming in New York. Coincidence? I don't think so. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me not to look at movies and shows when you see actors do stuff like I think I've mentioned this before. When I was watching The Walking Dead, and I forget her name on the show, but she's doing one of the Star Trek shows. When I saw the trailer for her in Star Trek, I was like, okay, so she's the next one that's gonna die. That's unfortunate because I don't know if it's a timing thing or just the reality of how social media and everything works now. But it kind of sucks that you can kind of infer who's going to die off of a show based off of them doing something else, especially if it's a big, big thing, like not like a one-off, like appearing on an episode of Law and Order or something like that. So I definitely understand the whole thing of like, do you think it's a coincidence? Like we pretty much knew that Ryan Reynolds was going to be Deadpool based off of, the things that we saw. As far as like, I'm trying to think, there were a couple MCU movies that the same thing happened. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I do know some people that are like, oh man, now we know this is going to happen because of XYZ. So I don't know if that's what you were asking, but I definitely don't think it's a coincidence. No. JC Cook, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro. Jay Wolfie, Pattinson is definitely in the Penguin. Would be awesome to see Batman in POV. Yes, definitely, especially that Batman. I know a lot of people give him, a bunch of negative, feedback because some people just can't get over the fact that he was Edward Cullen. Some people just don't like him. Some people think he's just weird. I actually didn't mind the movie. I know the only problem I had with that movie was that it was way too long, and I saw it in the theater twice, and I was like, okay, I've seen Avatar, I've seen The Lord of the Rings, I've seen Titanic, I've seen all these movies, and this one makes me feel like I'm getting swamp ass for sure. So, but I did like his grit. I liked that fight scene with him in the shadows, and he just like beats the complete shit out of those guys. I really, really enjoyed that version of him because it reminded me of that in conjunction with his detective, how he kept showing up when they needed a detective. It just felt like Conroy, the animated series Batman, where the other movies never gave that to us. We never got that detective side of Batman, in my opinion. It was always, George Clooney kind of, but it was comedic. So we never really got that side of Batman, and I really enjoyed that part of it. Plus the whole emo look. Come on. But let's see here what we got. And I promise we're going to get to Scream. We got to get through these questions real quick. Let's see here. To be fair, we know Pattinson, the Penguin, but is he going to be Batman or Bruce Wayne or both? Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know for sure, but that's a good point. New season of Picard seems to be based on Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Only 2 episodes in. Okay, dude, Wrath of Khan is definitely a good place to make a good source to make anything modern with Star Trek for sure, because Wrath of Khan is iconic. So, okay, with that, we're gonna get into Scream. So, back to that criteria. Let's bring it up. So, intro before the title card. Now, that one's going to be kind of rough because for those of you who remember, the Scream movie kind of starts with the title card. It's not one of those like one of the Friday the 13th movies that goes 2 or 3 whole minutes in before the title card comes up, which I'm a big fan of that. But with Scream, it's just you get the dial tone and the ringing, and then it just says Scream, and then it cuts to Drew Barrymore picking up the phone for the first time. So, do you have anything else to add on that?
Honestly, everything I have to add just has to do with what's actually going on itself. So like stuff like how I like how in the beginning she's just kind of talking to this dude on the phone. Yeah. She thinks she's super innocently thinks that it's just some dude flirting with her and just being a creep.
Pretty much, yeah.
And of course, that all changes very, very suddenly when, the infamous line, "I want to know who I'm looking at."
Yeah.
And then the tone just completely shifts. And
I know that you mentioned that you were like, when we were watching, we paused it and you said you were like, did you notice that the score just kind of changes? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. I think that they did great with that. It's like it's like that drop feeling in your heart. I don't really know how to explain it, but
that drop roller coaster ride thing when you're like,
yes,
what?
Absolutely, yes, for
sure. So for me, I definitely think that and I've mentioned this before with friends and stuff, the big, and I don't know if you're as well versed with this kind of talk, so to speak, and that's the fact that Wes Craven just didn't care. He was so bold with his decisions. He decided to take an actress who was a maybe not a household name, but she definitely wasn't a nobody actress. You know, she was Drew Barrymore. We knew who she was. She, you know, child actress. You know, from horror movies from way back in the day. And you know, she I always confuse her with a little girl from Poltergeist, but she definitely she was an ET. You know, that was a movie that everyone knows, ET. You know, everyone knows Back to the Future kind of thing. And he when you saw her on camera, especially back in the day without social media, people can go in going, oh well, you know, she's not going to die because she's Drew Barrymore. Come on, you know. And he was like, no, that's the first kill that we see. Well, technically the second, but you know, he was not afraid to just pull out all the stops. And for me, that's what stuck out, was like, holy shit, dude, he just killed Drew Barrymore. Like, oh my God. So that was huge for me. Huge for me. Did you have anything else to add on that?
No, honestly, I have a lot on the first kills. I kind of grouped them together since they're so close together and they go hand in hand with each other.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Next on the list, we have the first appearance of the killer. So of course, the movie starts with him talking about how, you know, hey, I'm on the phone and I'm, you know, I want to know this, I want to play a game, this and that. But you don't even see, even when he kills Steve, he just comes out and kills Steve. You don't see who did it. You don't see what he looks like. You don't see the size. You don't see the overall appearance. Nothing. It's just he's there and his guts are on the floor.
Yeah, the first time we actually see the killer, it's a very brief. I made sure to write that down and make a mental note of that because the very first time we see him is him running quickly past the hallway, and all we see is just like a brief flash of, you know, like the robe and the mask and everything, but we don't get like a really good look at it. And so it, you know, obviously that builds suspense. It makes you like,
Absolutely.
wait, what was that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, yeah, and I always forget that. I always forget that scene, and then later on in the movie, there's a scene where the camera kind of pans up, and you see him like in the woods, and he like looks and then leaves. I always forget that scene too.
Yeah, that's like right before the party, I believe, that they have. Yeah.
So definitely, it wasn't one of those movies where the killer, so to speak, just shows up. It was, like you said, it was a bit of a blur. So this movie's already breaking up all the rules as I've written them here. Now that, as you were saying, the first couple kills. Now, as far as the first kill goes, we've already covered that it's Steve. But the first kill that we see from beginning to end and in full detail is the kill of Casey Becker.
Yes.
Drew Barrymore's character, for those of you that don't know that name, because she doesn't last long enough for you to remember her name.
Nope.
But yeah, so was that what you were wanting to talk about?
I mean, yeah, I also just like about the first like appearance of the killer, like the first really good up close look that we get. I guess a lot of what I'm talking about as far as the first appearance of the killer, it has to do with the like costume, clothes, whatever you want to call it, that he's wearing. I really, really like that, the simplicity of it and how it's just like, it kind of shows that the killers with S, they didn't really care too much about making the costume. I'm not really sure what to call it.
The costume.
Very like elaborate or complex. They just wanted to do something that was just unsettling enough, but, you know, just made them unrecognizable so they could get the job done, which kind of brings out the personalities of the killers a little bit.
Yeah. As far as like in the lore goes, which it doesn't take away from what your observation at all, in my opinion, but I think that their whole thing was they went to like a store and made sure that they got a look, like you said, that was simplistic to the point, kind of very distorted, because I mean, he's standing right there. The freaking face is very, very distorted.
Yeah.
And I think that was in real life, that was a Wes Craven decision that worked tremendously, in my opinion. But also, as you said, I think that the whole purpose of it was the anonymity, and they picked a costume that I believe the police chief says to Dewey at one point. He says, you know, or Dewey says to the police chief, he's like, they're in every convenience store. They're in every pharmacy. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm from New York City originally, and pharmacies were definitely a spot where most of the kids growing up didn't think to stop to get their last minute Halloween costumes or accessories. And a lot of these convenience stores and these like Duane Reade and like, you know, all these like mom and pop pharmacies used to carry a lot of like the bloody knife and, you know, a Michael Myers mask here and there. Now, the quality might not be like a Trick or Treat Studios kind of thing, but it was definitely a really, really good budget costume that you can kind of distress yourself or kind of add to it and have something rather than just going in your closet and rating what you already have. So the fact that they incorporate that into the movies, I thought was really cool. It's a very nostalgic touch to me, even to this day. So I definitely agree with you on that as far as the simplicity goes. Like less is more when it
Yes.
comes to that. So definitely the appearance of the killer was pretty sick. And like I said, it's one of they call it the icon of Halloween for a reason. I mean,
Yes.
for you to eclipse Michael Myers as the icon of Halloween, that's a big deal.
Yeah, something I actually wrote was it's the mask specifically is very iconic, and it's not even because it's like super like elaborate and terrifying or like gory or anything like that. And it just they did a great job at making that something that was super iconic without having to put a whole lot of, you know.
Emphasis and all
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
So as far as like the next thing was the first kill. Was there something else you wanted to add on the Drew
No,
scene?
I'm ready to talk about the first kill.
Okay, cool.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So as far as I go with it, did you want to go first or?
Doesn't matter to me, man.
All right. Well, I got this train going, so let's do this. So the first kill, I thought was insane. I thought it was absolutely nuts because, as we said earlier, it was Drew Barrymore. Wes Craven had no rules. He didn't care. He wasn't afraid to kill a star off before the movie even really began. Before we got to see the leading lady, she was killed. So in the contrast of living in the city, the security of me living in New York City was that the minute that I got home and I closed that giant steel door, theoretically, nobody can get into my house. So as long as I made it beyond that door and closed the deadbolt and all the locks and everything, I was theoretically safe until sunrise. Now that I live in the middle of nowhere, as we're filming this podcast, we are in the middle of the woods right now. It's not the same. So that's the kind of experience and that's the kind of vision that Wes Craven had when he made this movie was the seclusion. The fact that even in the original script that I read before we made this video, I definitely did my homework, guys, for sure. He writes, or Kevin, actually it was Kevin, I forget his last name, who wrote the screenplay. He writes that she's in the middle of nowhere with no neighbors in sight.
Yeah, and the whether I can't remember, I don't know if it was Billy or Stu, but when she starts to call the police, they're like they'll never get here in time.
Yep.
We're in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember exactly what he says, but it's something like that.
Yeah,
so
he says they'll never get here in
that
time.
adds to the suspense,
Definitely, and that's something that is very hard to do.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to do. Oasis says, I love that ghost face mask in the based on Edward Munch's painting the screen. Yes, thank you very much. The whole painting of the whole, that's what it was. That definite iconic presence, that the humanoid look, it worked with Michael Myers, who thought that a William Shatner mask that was painted white with sideburns ripped off and eye holes extended would have such an impact on the realm of horror movies. I mean, the human body, the man, I forget his name, the guy who was an alien, said that the human hand, he designed the face hugger off of human hands because it was so disturbing the way a human hand moves. And humans are the hardest thing to draw. They're the hardest things to capture. They're the hardest things to emulate, whether it's AI or not. I mean, we're getting there with AI, but the human body is just so fascinating, the way it works inside and out. So definitely agree with that. But yeah, so I was just shocked by how they did not care about killing off the main star. We're looking at the Scream poster right now that's hanging in the room. Drew Barrymore has arguably the biggest, she's in the foreground, and her name comes, actually it's in the back, which in movie talk, when they say featuring so-and-so and so-and-so, that's saying, hey, that's the big name, so it was pretty crazy. And also the movie did not, just like Halloween before it didn't have any like gore in the very beginning until you saw her sweater and what the stabs did. Like, you didn't see the knife enter her body. You didn't see any of that stuff because it wasn't about that. It was about the utter horror of her being alone, her being technically a child still because she was in high school, and this evil presence that she didn't know 30 minutes ago cutting her open, essentially.
Like everything leading up to it, like the elaborate games that they play with her, and like
it's like Saw.
Yeah.
It's like Saw before Saw, though.
Yeah.
You want to play a game.
Like they do a really good job at making you feel terrified without showing a lot of gore. But of course, eventually they do. So it just adds to it a lot.
And it's very fast.
It
it's
is.
very
Yes,
fast. It's the camera, the camera gets like all shuddery and it like runs and you hear the mom screaming and she's like hanging off the tree.
Yes.
The first 3 or 4 times I saw this movie, I didn't realize that she was disemboweled. I didn't realize that her guts were hanging out of her stomach. I thought that she was just hung there. Like he cut her, he stabbed, not to say that this isn't anything, but I thought that he stabbed her a few times and then just hung her and she died from hanging.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he disemboweled her and put her on display for her parents to see.
I think that obviously that is really, messed up and
let's put that disclaimer. We're not psychopaths. We're just, looking at this as from an art perspective.
Because leading up to that, they almost make the first kill, and this might sound a little messed up, but they make it almost fun to watch because it's so like cynical and it's genius, honestly. Like, especially like the way that he tortures her and the way that, he slices her vocal cords so that she can't speak or scream right as her parents are getting home. She's like within 20 feet of her parents. Yeah. And if they literally would have just looked to the left, they would have seen their daughter being dragged away. But I just thought it was so, there's like no word for it. I don't want to say cool, but like elaborate, like interesting, genius, whatever, how he had her, instead of just immediately killing her right away, sliced her vocal cords, had her, it almost like it makes the viewer, it's like a very like up and down roller coaster, because you're like, oh wait, is she gonna like be able to get to her parents? Is she gonna be able to say something or get them to notice her? But then obviously her vocal cords are
like imagine
over. So it's like she's trying to scream and you do hear her. She says mom, but it's it's very exactly. So it's just, it's crazy. Like the emotions that you feel as the viewer, it's like, oh my God, like, but then also you, like, when you're watching it, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Is she going to get to her parents? Is he going to get her parents too?
Right.
And it's just, I love the excitement, the suspense, the up and down roller coaster of like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Dude, it was like you said, she was so close yet so far from safety. Her mom and her dad, which those of us out there, we all have parents, and at one point in our life, or even still to this day, I don't know, what your lives are at this moment, but like I talk to my mom all the time. You talk to your mom all the time. Like when things go south, you think of your mom and or your dad. So the fact that like us as the viewers, we're like, oh my, they're right there and they can't do anything. And, they go into the house and they start focusing on like, oh, the azaleas or whatever. The
flowers in the front. Yeah. And that was another thing is like, as her parents walk in the house, they start realizing there's something wrong. She's missing, first of all. And it's so intense because like, we know, as we're watching it, that he's killing her right outside the house, and they're running around searching for her and wondering what's going on. And it's just like an intense feeling like, oh my God, she's right out there. Like if you would have just went outside, stopped talking about the fucking flowers and stuff, like exactly. And it's right there. Like, and it's just, it feels so intense, but it's not like cheesy either, where it's one of those things that they actually make fun of later on, where it's like, look right behind you, he's right there. It's like so close, but so far away. And that's something that's so just brilliant that they did, I think.
And the music, like we were talking, like that violin, when she gets all pale, and I don't know if that was acting, lighting, or a combination of that with makeup, but they show him at one point, he like, playfully, cynically, he just like the tip of the knife goes down her blouse, and like you see her, she's like covered in sweat, bleeding out, and she's trying to like grab his mask, and that just angers him.
Yeah.
And you hear him, the grunt, he's just like, and that gives you the passion, for lack of a better phrase, that this guy definitely, she was not picked at random, even though it seemed that way with the playful games and all the rest of it. He knew exactly what he planned to do. And of course we know, foreshadowing, it's not just one person, but we could talk about this first kill all day, guys. Yes. And I think that was the purpose that Wes Craven wanted, was for us to go, holy crap, we need to talk about this later because we have a whole other hour and a half to go. But that first kill was insane. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, think I covered most of it.
Yeah.
As you said, though, I mean, I could talk about it all day. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first kill was pretty cool. Now the very next thing is the dopest kill. Now, with how much time we spent talking about the first kill, that's probably going to be the one for me, honestly, because the rest of them are pretty quick by comparison and not as impactful.
I definitely, obviously, the first one is the most elaborate. It's the most. I mean, it's the first kill. Of course, that's going to be the one that they put a lot of effort in. But I think a very honorable mention is Tatum's death.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I really like this one a lot because obviously, you know, that's not how he planned to kill her. Her being in the garage. And I just think that was such a, like, the way that he finds a way to kill her in such a creative and, like, on the spot way. And that's also one of those other things where it creates so much suspense because you're like, oh my God, she's about to get away, because she starts to go through the little cat door. And of course, you know, he's like looking around. He's like, the button.
Right.
And, you know, he hits it, and, you know.
One less time he has to do this here, this number here. The whole, what Dave calls the continuity, which is clean the knife.
Yeah, so that's probably up there. Even though it is quicker, it is more simple. I think that's definitely up there with one of my favorite kills. Honestly, probably about at the same level as the first kill.
Well, it's kind of like a fast track of the psychology of the first one, because in the first one, he's playing with her emotions and her mind over the phone. In this one, he does it in person, because she's like, oh, because think about it. All the kills.
She didn't believe that it was for real, especially because a lot of the people had went and gotten those same costumes and pretended to, you know, scare everybody. So she's like, I really like, you know, the whole, oh, don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. She's being such a smartass about it.
And she's I just realized that she's the one who gave us the name, because he didn't have a name. Like, even in real life. No, I
actually didn't even realize that till now.
Yeah, there was no name. Even in the script, there's no name.
Yeah, that definitely makes that kill even more iconic for me, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. She definitely, you know, has that roller coaster of emotions where she's like, oh my God, you know, oh my God, this is so sarcastically, this is insane, you know, you're the killer, whatever. And then she realizes when he cuts her arm,
she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because she thinks that it's just one of the people at the party.
Yeah,
which,
she thinks it was
but Jamie, not the way that she thinks.
Right. I think she thinks it was Jamie Kennedy. She's like, Randy, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah,
this isn't
just
funny
like
anymore.
Sydney later on,
right.
when you know, when they call her, she's fully convinced that it's Jamie.
Yeah.
And
it was pretty crazy though, because, you know, she tries to get resourceful. She throws the beer, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but a beer bottle, it hurts.
Yeah.
And you know, she hits him at one point. He grunts. I think she hits him right in the nuts or something like that.
Yeah, because that's one way we were able to kind of tell who it was that killed her, because it sounded a lot like Billy, and we realized that after she gets killed, Billy just randomly shows up after everybody's like, where's Billy? And it's like, it's clearly him that killed her. So yeah, he did make a noise for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was another little game that we played while watching it. Once we watched the movie the first time, and then we watched it 2 more times to kind of gear up for the video, we were like, let's try and see if we can pick out who kills who. And some of the kills were pretty obvious. Like some of the ones we were like, okay, that's definitely Stu who did that, or that's definitely Billy who did that. But with Tatum, we were like, okay, so Stu's dating her, so it's probably not him. And then at first we were like, oh my God,
that would be the perfect thing, because you wouldn't expect that. But
yeah, I mean, we've all heard about all in real life couples that go away and they end up on Dateline because something happens. Yeah. But yeah, so that was definitely an honorable mention for sure for dopest kill. Now, lame ass kill, I would probably say, I'm trying to think, because like I said, a lot of them are so fast. I mean, if I really wanted to nitpick, because this movie is really, really high up there for me. Now, I'm not going to spoil what I'm going to give it out of 10, but it's up there. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think the lamest kill, even though it wasn't even that lame, because
it's hard. It's hard to choose one that's lame, because none of them are really lame. Just some of them are maybe not as important to the story, or too quick, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, not to spoil it, but in the later movies, there are definitely some lame kills. Now, in the first one is really, really hard.
It's hard. It really is.
I think for me, it was Kenny, the news guy, because the only thing that was cool about it was that he came out and he was like, holy crap. You know, then he realized, he was like, holy shit, there's a 10-second delay, and then he gets killed.
Yes, that's actually the one that I was going to say as well.
Gotcha.
Maybe like a second would be like the principal, because obviously, you know, that one seemed just a little bit out of nowhere for me, because it broke the streak of teenagers, first of all.
Yeah.
like the, fellow students and everything. But it's not completely out of nowhere, obviously, because he was taking it very seriously, and obviously getting the kids who were not taking it seriously in trouble and everything, and he was raising awareness, so of course they would off him.
He definitely, like you said, he was drawing attention to it, and he was creating the curfew and working with the police and this and that, and he also seeing the Fonz get killed is kind of, I mean, his I love Henry Winkler, I love him to death, but his scream was kind of funny to me, like the whole when he gets like stabbed with the shears or whatever. I did like the slow motion of like Ghostface's arms being over his head, and then he kind of just drops them and comes out from behind the door. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's why that one's like definitely under Kenny's, because there's definitely a lot of elements to that one that was really good, but
for sure.
So I think probably the lamest kill I think we can both agree on is Kenny. Yeah.
Now,
I mean, honestly, after Kenny's death is more iconic and interesting to me than the actual death itself. The way that he, Gail gets into the van and he falls onto the windshield and everything, and she's like, "I love you, Kenny, but get the fuck off my windshield." And I love that, honestly. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it had a bit of a two-parter to it, where the principal, he died. Oh, well, you do hear from it. You hear that they hung him from the goalpost or whatever.
Yeah, during the party, they get a call, and Randy, he answers the phone, I believe.
And then all the Chads get up and go, "Ooh, who doesn't want to see that?"
Yeah, and they speed off and
end the party prematurely.
Yeah,
but because who doesn't want to watch Halloween at a party? I mean, that's just me, guys. But yeah,
not to mention, the whole them watching Halloween at the party. This might be a little bit off topic, but I just have to mention that sound, that famous sound. And they do it as Ghostface comes into frame, and I was like, it's so awesome, especially for horror fanatics. Like, you just combine two extremely iconic movies.
Absolutely, and we're gonna come back to that because there's a lot of movies and a lot of horror icons that are mentioned. Either you see them, or you hear about them, or they reference the movies, or they show the movies. In this case, Halloween. But yeah, so now the next thing on the list that I'm kind of, it's not the lamest thing to talk about, but it's definitely something important, and that's the overall plot. So for those of you who have made it this far of the video, through the live, obviously Scream is a slasher movie based off of two high school students that for whatever reason they have, one of them has more of a lackey shoe to fill, and he's definitely the Igor to the Dracula kind of thing, and then the other one just really, really upset over family feud going wrong with the leading lady, Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell. So a lot of the motives are different, and Stu and Billy make it work. And of course they dupe everybody because no one knew that they were doing this the whole time. So the overall plot, that I don't want it to bleed into what the coolest thing about the movie for me is. So I guess I'll knock out two birds with one stone here. And that's that the plot of this movie was so realistic, and that was the coolest thing about it.
That was something that I was going to mention as well.
Yeah.
And that also goes into one of the other topics we were going to talk about for me is the scariness of it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so realistic, honestly, to me, is part of the scary part of it, Like, it's just these high school kids that are being brutally murdered by who knows, And I love that element of the movie and the plot and everything, just that it's so, like, stuff like this happens. Yeah. Like, it happens. Like
Columbine?
Yeah, every day. Like, stuff like this happens, and especially in America. And it's just like,
and they even talk about it. They're like, movies don't create psycho killers. That whole thing. Like, the movie is so self-aware. That's another thing. Like, this movie, like I said, we can talk about it forever. It's one of the best movies to break down. Wes Craven, wherever you are in the universe, bro. I mean, I wish I could have met you because, apart from Carpenter, like, Wes Craven was a master of horror. He knew what made things scary. He made Nightmare on Elm Street based off of that case of the kid who, had terrible nightmares and just lived off of coffee and ended up dying in his sleep. And then he made a movie about it. And, went as far, not to talk about because that's for another video, but, then he made a movie about realistic fiction. Like, what if all of us have gone to high school, theoretically, right? Those of you that are too young to have already experienced high school, maybe you shouldn't be listening to this, but we've all been to high school. We know that there are cliques. We know that there are, people that get together. We know that there are people that, date people that you don't think they should be dating, and there's drama and there's love triangles and there's all this other crap. And then all of a sudden there's an outcast. There's a kid who doesn't belong. There's a kid who feels like he dreads waking up every day. And some of us have all of that. Like I remember a time frame where I didn't want to go to school because I didn't want to be there. I didn't feel like I belonged.
I ended up getting homeschooled actually.
Yeah.
So I just quit it altogether.
Exactly. So the fact that you turn around and you find out that two of your closest classmates that you have, recess with, or not recess, but like, break time with or whatever, study hall, whatever you want to call it, they start killing everyone. They start killing the rest of you.
And then imagine Sydney,
Exactly.
That's her boyfriend.
Yes.
Like she trusted him.
And she was a virgin.
Yeah, I was going to say like she let him in as far as that goes. And then right after, like finds out,
Yeah. And she, was the good girl. She was the girl who always did what she was supposed to do. Her dad was pretty strict. And she, decided, well, I'm not going to be this square. My boyfriend is, and even her friend was like, what do you expect?
Yeah, she like manipulated herself into thinking that she wasn't a good girlfriend and that it was just what she had to do and that she needed to get over her mom's death because it had been a whole entire year.
Yeah, I know.
And, obviously a lot of that is Billy's doing.
Of course. Peer pressure to, I remember growing up and seeing my female cousins and my girlfriends, not people I dated, but the female friends that I had, and hearing their dads and their uncles and their moms going, don't ever let a guy pressure you to do anything. Like that's a real issue. That's a really, really big deal because in my opinion, and I could be wrong, not trying to get sexist with anything, but like boys suck. I could tell you that right now. I've seen many, 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 many guys that I grew up with, or even the lower, the younger generation, where I see them going down a route like, hey, don't do that. You're supposed to respect, how would you do that to your mother? Would you do that to your sister? And they're like, no. I'm like, then why would you do that to Cindy or whoever it is? Mm. And it's a very, very touchy subject because you don't want to get that sexist element. You don't want to,
Yeah, but the thing about it is though, and obviously I don't want to sound sexist either, but like the boys, men, whatever, mostly boys, because we're talking about the movie and they're in high school. Right. So they peer pressure each other too. And we see that later on, with Stu's motive is that he was peer pressured. So it honestly raises a really good like topic, and it shows that you don't need to fall for that peer pressure because horrible things can happen. Even if it's something that's just bad or an inconvenience, like it happens if you cave into that peer pressure. And I do like how the movie also shows that if you do cave into that peer pressure, it's still not your fault.
Yeah, and it's something, theoretically, hopefully it doesn't get you killed, first of all, and you can learn from it. It's something that you can go, well, now I can teach someone else. Like we hear all these people like that have had traumatic things happen, like rape survivors and stuff like that they're like, well, they dedicate their lives to outreaching and providing hotlines and providing, messages out there like, hey, listen, just because this happened to you, yes, it's terrible. Yes, you're going to deal with it for the rest of your life, but here are the tools to get over it. Like a horror movie touching on this is insane, But like I said, this movie, we can each one of these bullet points, we can talk about it for 3-4 hours. Yeah. The overall plot I thought was really, really strong.
Yes, I do want to go back to how you commented on how it's so self-aware, and it's honestly like it brings an element of like comedic relief, honestly, because they kind of avoid the stereotypes that they're making fun of, but then at the same time there's a couple parts where they make fun of a stereotype and then they kind of go along with it, specifically like when Sydney is like, oh, I don't watch that shit, talking about horror movies. Right. And she's like, it's always some big-breasted woman like running up the stairs when she should be running out the front door. And obviously she doesn't do that. But right after that, instead of taking the person on the phone seriously, because she thinks it's, it's
a joke. It was Randy, yeah.
But she goes outside and challenges the person on the phone, which obviously we end up finding out is the killer. Mm-hmm. And I just found it really funny how right after she talked about how the victim always ends up doing something stupid when they should be protecting themselves, she does the same thing. Yep. So it's just great because they didn't follow the exact stereotype that they're making fun of, but they did add an element to it.
It's kind of one of
And
those like, do what I say, not what I do.
yes, and then that whole scene at the party where Randy's talking about the rules
Yeah.
of horror movies and what you have to do to survive, and he's talking about, he's like, never have sex.
Right.
Anybody who has sex always dies.
Yep.
And they show that scene right after Sydney and Billy have sex, which makes you kind of lead you to believe that Sydney's gonna die.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, how is this movie gonna end? Is it gonna be happy? Is it gonna be a happy ending? Is she gonna die? Which of course we, find out that doesn't happen.
Right.
But it creates that more like suspense and interest in the movie, and that's something else that's one of my favorite things about it, honestly.
That duping foreshadow thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Another like element of the show, and this is random and something very subjective, but I like how this movie breaks the horror movie cliche of a girl always having to show her breasts in the
Absolutely.
movie. And they actually kind of are self-aware about that too, because Stu was like, when are we going to see, it, Jamie Lee?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
When are we going to see her breasts? And,
He says, you don't see it till I forget what movie it was.
Yeah, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, because we watched it last night, and that was a scene that it stuck out to me because we knew we were going to film this today, and we were like, we definitely have to talk about that because, like you said, the rules and movies after that, like Zombieland, which you probably don't know this, but Zombieland talks about rules to follow to survive. So this movie definitely paved the way for a lot of stuff that came in the horror / monster / action thriller department. But yeah, the overall plot was really, really strong. I think it was very, very realistic. It was very easy to follow. It kept you guessing. It kind of was like a really good D&D campaign. And I think that's why I really, really enjoyed it, because the writing was on the wall, but it was like, did you know the language, And that kind of bleeds into the best supporting and worst supporting character. I think for me, the best supporting character would probably be a mixture of Rose McGowan's character,
Yes.
and Randy,
Yeah.
because she helped Sydney. At one point, I thought she was the worst supporting character, but I kind of flip-flopped her and who I ended up choosing as the worst supporting character, who later on, no spoiler for you, ends up getting a little bit more, I guess, screen presence as far as like the strength goes and stuff like that. But Rose McGowan's character was definitely a good supporting role, because even though she did do that whole, well, I always thought that Billy there was something about him, and she has that innocent teen little vibe, but she meant
he was too perfect.
Yeah.
Had to be something.
She meant well. And same thing with Randy. He definitely meant well, but he was, a friend, and for me, those were the best supporting characters for Sydney, because she was so confused and so rattled, and Randy was trying to give her the insight on what a killer would do, when her friend was trying to say, hey, look, I'm pretty sure that you're safe in this and you're kind of undecided in this, and you need to learn to live, and gave her a little bit of a don't hide in the corner vibe, while Randy was like, here are the weapons to survive. And they probably were directly responsible for how she made it.
Yes.
Because, she was able to have that support system. And then as far as the worst supporting character for me in the first movie was probably Dewey. Dewey was definitely made it easy for them to make fun of him.
He's naive, very naive, and yes, I can definitely agree with that for sure.
The what is it? The scary movie, the Doofy. Whenever who is it? I think it's I forget, Shannon Elizabeth's character who plays Tatum in the scary movie parody. She's like, oh yes, doofus, and then in Scream she's like, yes, Deputy Dewey boy. Mom said that we can. It's so funny because it's like he does that same line. He's like, Mom said when I wear this badge, you're supposed to treat me like a man of the law. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
and
come on.
and then another reason why he's kind of a weak supporting character is Gale almost kind of seems like like an antagonist in the movie at first.
Yeah.
And Dewey, the first time a woman gives him a little bit of attention, he just kind of like falls for it, and
he's the geek.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about things that we loved the most about the plot, but something that I didn't like was how, obviously, like I just said, like how he just immediately fell for it, and then also, like, I don't like that Gale ended up being right, because I hated her for the first whole, part of the movie, and then she ends up being right about, the killer being,
not Cotton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it gives me this sense of injustice for some reason. Like, I don't know why.
I like that though, because as I told you, like I was like, I'm not trying to spoil it, you know.
it's essential to the movie,
Yeah.
but it bothers me for some reason.
It's like an anti-itch. Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanted her to be wrong because it felt so good when Cindy just punched her in the face.
Absolutely.
Did.
Who doesn't want that
'Cause she exploited,
paparazzi?
you know, like she exploited her mom's like rape and murder, and you're like, I'm writing a book about it,
Right.
and it's like,
And she gets hit, and bam, bitch goes down.
Sydney, super bitch.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and like I said, I did have to tell you, you know, just kind of like, don't go in with that sourdough
Well,
taste,
yeah,
because
even by the end of, end of the first Scream, she had a lot of character development. I mean,
Yeah.
she saved Sydney's life.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a uptick with Gail, and her character, without giving anything away. But yeah, I'm glad we agreed on the best supporting and worst supporting characters in the movie. The theme music, this movie kind of had, it was all over the place. Like, it had a bunch of like songs that were actual songs that you can hear.
yeah, something that stood out to me was when towards the beginning of the movie, after Drew's kill and everything, when Billy goes into Sydney's, like he comes in through her window,
Yeah,
and that one song is playing in the background. I'm not sure what it's called.
it gets the cover of "Don't Fear the Reaper" by
Yes,
Gus Black.
yes.
Yeah.
It adds like a certain vibe to that scene that's like
absolutely.
very, it's like unsettling and sad at the same time, and it's like it kind of makes you realize, it kind of immediately makes you think about how unfortunately shitty Billy is, honestly, because you're already feeling that like weird eerie feeling from the song, and then obviously him trying to pressure her
And his
and
acting.
yes,
Yeah.
and so that was something that stood out to me about the music of the show for sure.
Yeah, it's a very interesting song to choose, because similar to the what is it, that one Disturbed covered Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
That's a song that came out during the, if I'm not mistaken, the hippie era. So it was the context of the song, and the lyrics are very somber and sad, but it was in a time where everyone was on LSD and stuff like that. And now you listen to Don't Fear the Reaper, it's the same thing, but the lyrics are very, very daunting. And the Gus Black cover is why it's my favorite version of that song. And honestly, Ghostface looks like the Reaper. We covered that.
Yeah.
So it's just so many different layers and elements that go with it. I listen to that song in my spare time because it's so somber and slow and very chill. But I always think of the movie, and I love it. It's one of the best covers I've ever heard. If you haven't heard it yet, beyond hearing it in the background, because it's very hard to hear unless
you don't
you're
really
looking
hear
for
the
it.
lyrics that much,
Right.
And but they picked a great song though, because even though you can't really hear the lyrics a whole lot, it still gives you that feeling that they were trying to give you.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So the music was phenomenal for the most part. I mean, we're pretty much praising this movie. I think you guys know where we're going with that. The killer's weapon, like you said, apart from the garage door, that buck knife, very, very, very realistic. You can find that at any Walmart in the country.
And that goes along with the whole simplicity thing.
Yep.
You know, all they needed was a knife up until the very end. Obviously, they end up getting the gun.
Right.
But they get most of their business done with just the knife, and that just adds so much to the simplicity of the movie, and that's like a lot of what I think this movie is about.
And the practicality of it too. The fact that you can go anywhere and get a buck knife, the contrast of that sheen with the chrome, with the matte black and the white.
There's
great.
No evidence.
No
There's
evidence.
No bullets or anything like that. You have it with you, or they have it with them all the time. So
yep, absolutely. That and like I said, apart from the garage door, that was the main
because
weapon.
that was unplanned.
Right.
Like in the movie, which I love that kill a lot. Love it.
Yeah, sentence you're only going to hear here at the channel. But but yeah, so we already covered how scary the movie was for obvious reasons, based on the fact that it's realistic. It's very, very, very relatable. We all went to high school. We all know the fear of not belonging. And for me, unfortunately, I did go through that time where I was like, is someone going to shoot up the school? I definitely get that.
And another, I think, scary element of the movie only comes when you watch it the second time. It's a very unsettling thing. Like, it's a little towards the beginning when Stu, Billy, Tatum, I think Randy's there, can't remember exactly, and then, of course, Sydney, they're all sitting outside of the school, and, Stu is, like, joking about, how to disembowel somebody, and, like, joking about the murder and stuff like that, which, of course, when you watch it the first time, I mean, it makes you suspect him, obviously, but you don't know for sure yet. So it's not as unsettling as when you watch it the second time and he did it. And it's like you watch it the second time and it's like, oh shit, he was sitting there like having fun talking about it. And it's just so like
Like a
sick.
double agent. Yeah.
Yes. And like that goes along with like his character to me. Like, because later on when we find out, like Billy's motive for killing, Sydney's mom, uh, it appeared that Stu didn't know for some reason. Like when he started talking about the motive, Stu was kind of in the background, just like,
Oh crap!
shit,
Is that why
yeah.
we did this?
And that says a lot about Stu's character and how it goes along with the peer pressure thing, obviously, but how he was just killing for fun, basically.
He was the accomplice. He was the Robin to
exactly.
Billy's
He
Batman.
was just like messed up in the head, and he was just killing just because somebody else wanted him to. You know?
That whole thing where Sydney switches it on them, and she's like, he's like, are you really gonna call? Are you gonna tell my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me? Like,
so funny.
It's dude. Matthew Lillard he's literally he's god tier, bro. Like
Yes.
his acting.
His voice has not changed a bit either. He sounds exactly the same. Like when we met him at Pensacon, he started talking to me, and I was like, I feel like I'm in the movie right now.
Absolutely.
This is insane.
Yep. Because Billy definitely, it was not his voice or Skeet.
Yeah,
Skeet's
he was definitely
character.
acting. Like he had a little voice acting going on there for sure.
Matthew was just himself. He was very much Shaggy. He was very much, he's like the one. What other line he says? He's like, what are you gonna say? What's your motive? When Sydney asks him, and he's like, peer pressure.
I'm way too sensitive.
Yeah, and he's like, dear Billy, you cut me deep. I think I'm dying here, man. Like it's so
feel a little woozy here.
It's so freaking raw, man. I love it so much. So the best thing obviously about the movie for me was how rewatchable it was. I still watch it to this day.
Yes.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. This movie's awesome. I can't think of anything bad about it, honestly, except for maybe some continuity errors, which every movie has that. There was that super cool part where right before the principal dies, he opens the door and he sees Wes Craven dressed as Freddy Krueger.
Oh yes.
And he calls him Fred the janitor. He's like,
absolutely.
He's like, what'd you call me? He's like, nothing.
Not
Fred.
you, Fred.
Yeah. And he's wearing the hat with the sweater and everything, and it was just so like just tongue in cheek with everything. It was so like just raw for us to pick up on or not pick up on, and Wes Craven was just a master of his craft, man, and he was taken from us way too soon.
That specific scene is great because it's not forced, and it's like you're not confused necessarily if you haven't seen the other movie,
right?
But it's just one of those extra little, like an Easter egg for horror fanatics, and Scream did a lot of that. They had so many references. I think you wrote a lot of them down.
Yeah, we tried
to write all of them, I believe.
They reference like a bunch of movies, Halloween. They reference Psycho because he says corn syrup, and he's like just like Norman Bates or something like that. You actually see Linda Blair from The Exorcist, who played Reagan. You actually see her as like news reporter. They talk about Brandy breaks down all these movies like Hellraiser and stuff like that, and at one point Randy refers to Billy as Leatherface. He's like, what's Leatherface doing here?
Yes.
It's so many, dude. If you guys haven't seen Scream in a long time, there's a bunch of stuff that you probably miss or don't remember.
It is probably the most rewatchable movie I think I've ever seen, to be honest.
Damn, you heard it here first. That's a bold statement. I can't disagree. It's up there for me too. I just seen a lot more movies than you, but
yeah.
I think we've arrived towards the end. We've talked a lot. Thank you guys. Those of you, there's 7 of you guys in here now that have hung out for most of it. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. But I think we're going to end it with rating the movie 1 to 10. Now, as far as what we're going to rate, apart from everything we talked about, I think like nothing gets a 10 unless it's like, I would think the only thing I'd give a 10 to would be like Endgame or Infinity War, which doesn't mean anything to you yet, but we are going to cover those movies as well. As far as a slasher movie goes, this movie is definitely a minimum of a 9.2 even for me. Yes. I can't think of another movie that's better than the first Scream. Halloween definitely ranks up there, which I don't have to worry about spoiling that because you've seen the first Halloween as well. But yeah, that Halloween is probably closer, maybe like a 9.5, 9.6. I can't think of anything being a 10 right now. Of course, that could change. I could watch Scream again and for some reason notice one little detail that makes it closer to a 10. But it's definitely in the high 9s. I think my official score would probably be like a 9.5, honestly, for Scream.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I was thinking the exact same thing, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So those of you who are still here and those of you who are watching in playback, if you made it to the end of the video, let us know what you think. Do you think Scream is overrated? Do you think it aged well? Is it rewatchable? Do you enjoy it? Did you hate it the first time you watched it? Or have you even seen it in the first place? If you haven't, do yourself the service of watching it. I know it's streaming on HBO or on Paramount Plus. Scream 6 comes out March 10th, which we're going to hopefully power through the rest of the movies in time for that. It's even the word scream. There's so many different words you can say with scream. I'm looking at the poster, like you can say scream, cream, ream, ear, car, let's see. Mars. So many different words. Yeah. You can say so many different words with just the word scream. It's such a fun, just IP. You guys need to do yourself a favor and watch it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to disagree with us. If you disagree about anything, we love hearing, opposite opinions, different types of feedback and stuff. I love, having those friendly debates or just hearing other people's point of view. So please don't be afraid to disagree with us if you did disagree with us on anything.
So since we went on a tirade, Rob Cameron said, so far this sounds like the perfect format for something that I would listen to at work. Any chance of podcast audio for this? Yes. So
absolutely. We
are going to be kicking out a spot. I'm going to sign up for whatever the subscription is or whatever it costs to get this kicked out on like Apple, whatever Apple uses, and Spotify and stuff like that for a podcast to come out. I'm going to see if I could do this one retroactively. Hopefully I can. So that is going to be something that we will offer, and I'll put the links and everything once it's up and going. You guys can listen to it on your own time, or like you said, if you're driving and you don't want to see the video version, but you want the exact audio version, we're going to do the whole thing. I'm actually recording the entire thing, so I'm able to take it from the SD card and upload it and stuff like that, which is the plan. CJ Oliver, which you guys asked about earlier, is in the chat. He called me a punk because I was ignoring him. What up? What would you rate me though? He says, you're a 10, buddy. Come on. You know that. But yeah, so CJ's in the chat. Those of you who are still here, show him love, man. Cause like I said, he moved away and that's why we're not making videos. It's not cause, had a falling out or anything like that. No, never that. Kelly Rojas says, always, it's been a blessing to have someone I enjoy listening to doing my classwork. Dude, I'm glad that you can stomach my voice, cause I know I can't. I've been on this chat for like an hour and I keep hearing myself through these headphones and I'm like, ugh. But anyway, Rob Cameron says good stream.
He's insane.
I am insane. God Cameron. Rob Cameron says good stream. Keep it up. Appreciate it, bro. Kelly Rojas says Scream is one of those movies you can watch in the background. I'm not sure if it's an operation or a version or what exactly you would call it. I don't know, but I agree with that. Yeah. Most of the movies that I love that are near and dear to my heart, I can watch in the background and then quote them the whole time or stop and rewind the scene I want to watch, stuff like that. He's like, not even an 11, whack. He's like, bro, I can't dial you up to 11. We'll break the whole thing, bro. I can't do that.
Yeah, that goes against our standards, bro.
It goes against the Geneva Convention, bro.
Yeah, we can't just be like, oh, 11. Come on now. Come on.
But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We had a blast. I know it was kind of like a Frankenstein kind of a video. We're going to showcase, like I said, we're going to do a Pensacon video showing you the pictures that we took with Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich, the things that they signed, all the fun we had at Pensacon. We just kind of wanted to throw something in so you guys can meet Lex officially so she doesn't just pop up in the videos and you're like, who's this? But that was the purpose of this video. We had a blast. I know it was, like I said, kind of a last minute thing. We're going to do these very, very consistently, especially when we do an actual podcast. You guys will hopefully be getting one, if not two a week, because they're very easy to do, especially theoretically. When I upload this, we'll see how much of a pain in the ass it is. But those of you who hung out, I love you, B. Dude, I love you too, bro. Hopefully come visit, come hang out. Definitely. Can't wait to see the Pensacon video. Dude, can't wait to make it for you guys. Can't wait to edit it. You get to see some cool footage of Aiden Fisher shredding to Master of Puppets, one of my favorite songs of all time. You get to see some cool pictures of Lex in her Max cosplay, which...
Yes, I cosplayed as Max from Stranger Things. Yep. And having Chrissy, which her real name's Grace, but having her compliment me on that was...
Goals.
One of the best things I've ever experienced. Yes, goals for sure.
Goals for sure. But yeah, hopefully you guys like the setup. This was also last minute decision. I have that mannequin that I'm probably going to have him outfitted to theme as much as I can based off what we're talking about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We definitely had a fun time doing this, and I think it's very, very easy to get these cranked out with our crazy schedules and all that. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that, let us know. Comment on this video or just send me a comment on the channel, or email me at the snapkeepvideos@gmail.com. But yeah, so those of you who haven't gone over to the new channel, We Judge Everything here on YouTube, definitely make it over there because that's where the next videos will be
Yes,
uploaded.
that's gonna be our main focus. So
Yeah, definitely. That's where the Pensacon video will be uploaded. That's where the rest
yes.
of the Scream movies and all the other things we cover. So we made it to the end. I don't want to forget. We'll give you guys some sneak previews of what we're going to make. So besides covering the movies, the Scream movies and stuff like that, we're going to do, and I already talked about disc golfing in the future with Dave because he does it all the time. So we're going to do a We Try Disc Golfing for the first time. We're going to try durian fruit. We're going to try jackfruit. And there's a couple other things that are not something you can find at a local store per se.
Yeah.
And I definitely haven't had them yet. And I think Lex hasn't either. So you guys are going to see a video of us eating stuff candidly that we
Yeah.
haven't tried before. So if I puke, apologies. But yeah, that's part of the fun. So
Yes, absolutely.
hopefully you guys are excited for all the stuff we're going to judge for the first time. And if you want to be a member of, you know, what causes the production value to go up and directly influence the channel, definitely head over to that at Patreon. We do have the We Judge Everything Patreon ready to go. Hopefully you find a tier that offers, I already have everything uploaded that I'm going to offer, that we're going to offer. Hopefully something works out for you there that you feel is valuable enough to contribute to the channel. And that contribution will go directly to the influence on how many videos, what we do and all that, because it'll help with the cost of travel and everything else. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I am so excited for the future. I'm very, very tired and hungry. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you guys have any other questions or comments, concerns, let us know in this video. We'll definitely, when it uploads, I'll comment on it and stuff like that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you real soon.